So it felt when we came across the tea break guidance, it just felt like the right time for us to take that step and start having these conversations. We were going through a period of change, a period of reflection, and it felt like the right initiative to help us on our journey to be like a racially equitable and equal organisation and allow for conversations that colleagues can have to share their life experiences of global majority staff in a way that may not have been done before, and we felt was a reflective way of how NCVO would like to move forward. So that's why we implemented it. I feel a positive impact. The feedback that we get from staff has been really impressive and mind-blowing in some ways. Staff have kind of shared that they feel like when we have the tea break sessions now, they're one of the most important sessions that they will make time for so that they can attend, because they get so much from them. Not only do they learn a lot, but they feel like they can relate more to their colleagues, and it also helps them in their personal lives as well. So we've had some staff that have shared that, you know, it's helped them to have these conversations within their families and their friendship groups that they may not necessarily have felt very comfortable having before, because they wouldn't know how to start those conversations, whereas the tea breaks have kind of provided them with those starting blocks to be able to kind of be in a position and say, oh, we had this conversation at work today and it got me thinking, or it's a door opener, it's an eye opener. And that's what people have taken from it, which has been really good.
One of the most common questions we ask, how do we look after people's safety, which is integral to tea breaks? So how did you go about doing that?
I think it's really important to make sure that people feel comfortable in the space, and setting the scene is really important to do that. So mentioning confidentiality and explicitly saying that this is a safe space where there's a kind of a contract for people that are sharing stuff in the room, the fact that that stays in the room. And I think mentioning things in the beginning of the tea break about being mindful and respectful of other people's thoughts and experiences, particularly if they're sharing their own experiences as well, and approaching topics sensitively, making sure that staff members are encouraged to be thoughtful and reflective in the space, and that if someone disagrees with a point or doesn't quite understand a point, they're encouraged to ask questions and be curious, rather than kind of coming from a place of judgment. I think things like that are really important to emphasize, and as well as a facilitator, taking care to kind of support people in that space and kind of checking in and seeing how everyone's doing, and taking on that role. I think those are a couple of things that I would say are quite important.
Donna also mentioned about the importance of finding the right people. So how did you engage and find the right people to support you to deliver tea break, and what were the different roles people took on? Yeah,
so I think knowing the right people to engage is a really important first step, and then talking about the importance of tea breaks and how people coming together to talk about these issues is really, really important. Sharing that is really important as a first step. I think it was really important for us to engage the Reach network as an initial step, to speak to them first and make sure it was something that we all agreed on doing and that we wanted to do it, and that it was a good idea for the organisation to start it off at that point. And then since then, members of the Reach network have been taking turns to lead or co-lead the sessions themselves, and also thinking about what kind of topics we want to explore. I also think engaging the people and culture team at NCVO was particularly important when it started, and one of the people that we had was the head of people and culture at the time, co-lead the first tea break, which was, I think, really important to kind of set the scene and set the space that we were trying to set up. And as well as that, engaging the leadership team to attend and share thoughts and be included in these conversations, to show that it's not just the kind of staff networks and people kind of experiencing these issues are the ones that are talking, but there's buy-in. So yeah, a few different stakeholders that we wanted to involve, and yeah, lots of conversations about how to do that well.
So Lynette, Donna mentioned the frequency of tea break sessions, and we asked that quite a lot. How often should we run them? And it depends on the organisation. So how did you go about making that decision?
We decided to run a poll to see what the frequency would be that would be comfortable for staff, because we work hybrid and we are very aware that, you know, people's capacities and diary availability can vary. So we ended up with the general consensus that the tea breaks would be run quarterly and they would be an hour per session.
How did you decide what themes you'll cover? Which ones have been the most popular?
So initially, our very first one was kind of a year on from when we started our work of being a racially equitable organisation. So the first session we did was an internal kind of reflective session about where everybody felt we were in our journey and what we needed to do, things that were going well, things that we could improve on. And then from there, it's amalgamated. So it's a mixture of awareness days. It can be things that are happening within society, can be topics. And then we have a living, breathing document that everybody has access to, so people can actually put suggestions of topics that they would like to cover. And that's how we kind of decide what's going to happen in each session. So whoever's chairing, if you have a specific topic that you're passionate about, then you can have that as the topic. Or if you would like to see what everybody else would like to discuss, then you've got that living, breathing document. And we also do cross tea breaks as well. So we have other affinity networks, if you like. And so depending on kind of what's happening, we may do joint tea breaks that are very topic specific, where two networks come together. So you'll have somebody from the Reach network and maybe somebody from the mental health network running a session in tandem that kind of shows the cross-sectionality of our society as well.
Lynette, Donna mentioned promotion is key. How do you promote tea breaks?
We do this in a few ways. So our people and culture team have actually included information about the tea breaks in our induction packs, so that right from the beginning of somebody's journey, they know that this is something that happens at NCVO on a regular basis. They're also set up as recurring meetings in staff calendars. And when new people start the organisation, they're then forwarded on to those individuals. And there is a caveat in those emails that say that although that date and time is held, they are subject to be moved to allow for more people to be able to attend at different times. So although the hold is there, it's not like set in stone. We're very flexible about moving it about. We also, prior to each tea break, we try to do it about a week in advance. Doesn't always work. I'm sure everyone can appreciate that. And we will post and start promoting them about a week beforehand by posting information about the upcoming tea break on Teams and also through emails as well, so that as much attention and awareness is raised that they're happening and what the topic's going to be, who's going to be running them. And we also allow for anonymous questions to be submitted through the Reach Network inbox, so that if people don't feel comfortable raising questions about certain topics, you know what it is beforehand. And if you know you have a question you don't necessarily want to ask in person, you have the ability to submit it through the inbox and then it will be answered that way. And I think, was the other question, what's been the most popular one so far, Jared?
Yeah, or a theme, yeah, that really grabbed people. Yeah.
So what's the two sessions that come to mind? One was on colorism and the other was on the nuance of identity and code switching. Those sessions were really well received. There was a lot of conversation afterwards and follow-ups as well. So those ones were really, really interesting and really successful.
Okay, thank you. I think what's really interesting, that you said at the beginning, is when people, new joiners, they're told about it, shows you the commitment and the priority organisation put into this. So it's get people only at the beginning, and then it becomes normal culture. So thank you for sharing that. Rupinder, there are two must-haves that we say for tea break. One is safe environment, and the other one is facilitator. I see some questions on facilitator. Do you need to be an expert facilitator? What tips would you give someone looking to do this for the first time?
Yeah, so I don't think you need to be an expert facilitator to run these sessions. If you're thinking of running one, I think if you approach it mindfully and if you feel able to in your organisation, it's kind of just the initial barrier that kind of the idea of having challenging conversations can prevent you. But I think once you're over that and you've done it once, that really fades quite quickly. And some top tips I would give, I guess, are not to worry about being super prepared with what you're going to come out with, because it kind of creates that flexibility of conversation. And the idea is that it is just a tea break, so it is just an informal chat. So I think that helps the conversation kind of play out that way. I also think being comfortable with silence is really important, because I think when people are thinking about these things, they're not kind of easy conversations to have. And especially in the virtual space, it feels a bit jarring if there's silence sometimes. So I think making sure to try and feel more comfortable with that, I think, is another important thing I'd say. And also if you have allies and other members of your network attending the tea break, just having them there and having them there in support, potentially asking questions, that can really help to feel comfortable. And
what top tips would you give it when running tea break? A couple of tips each, if that's okay. Thank you.
Sure. One of the things that I was thinking about is just that point around being comfortable, doing what you need to do to feel comfortable in the space, particularly if you're the one who's chairing or co-chairing, like making sure that you're doing what you need to do. So having your camera off to start with, having someone else introduce the topic in the beginning if you want help to do for someone else to do that, and just kind of making sure that you're taking care of yourself and how you like run the space and kind of taking ownership of that. And I think you doing that allows other people to feel like they can do that too. So I think it's about creating that environment. And yeah, that's one of the important things I'd say.
Lynette.
I think one of the things that I would say is learn who your allies are to help you with the tea breaks, and be prepared that once you kind of start tea breaks, they're going to come from unexpected places that you wouldn't necessarily think. So be open to that. And once you know who they are, start having those regular conversations and communications with them, because they're really important in making sure that the work that you're doing moves forward from unexpected places. And I think that that's a really important thing to kind of be aware of and look out for.